this meeting? Okay, we're now really set to go. I'd like to stand and say the pledge of allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Kevin.
Aleppo, Avalon, Bell Acres. Arnie's here, so I don't know if she's here. Bell Acres is here. Bellevue,
Here.
Avon, Edgeworth, Emsworth here, Glen Osborne,
Here.
Glenfield, Hayesville, Kilbuck,
Here. Here.
Eastdale,
Present.
Swickley,
Here.
Swickley Heights.
Here.
That's four.
Okay, great.
Patrick, did you forget me? Lee?
Oh, Art, are you here? Art, who's that?
Leet, John Stefanski.
Yo, I said, Lee, you're good. Thanks, John.
Okay, I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Oh, my fault.
By any chance, is it possible for us to get a picture of those that are here rather over the agenda? I'm just thinking, I'd like to see.
Everyone's cameras off.
Okay. Okay, that's fine, moving on. Moving on. I noticed we have several guests, and we have guests from the Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority.
Yeah, my name is Bill Monsky, and I am president of the board of Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority.
And I am Brian Hirschman, I'm one of the deputy chiefs for Quaker Valley.
Could you explain why you're here tonight?
We are here tonight to receive a proclamation.
And it is not, Patrick, I don't have it up.
Sorry, I'll zoom.
What page is it on? I'm sorry.
Oh, the proclamation is going to be item 8C.
Okay, I just have pages.
It's going to be towards the end of the packet, probably the 50s or 60s. The audit takes up like 30 pages.
Okay. We have it. I assume that everybody that's present tonight has seen the proclamation.
I'll zoom in on it. Yes.
There you go. Any questions or concerns about the proclamation? Okay, do we need a motion to pass the proclamation? I would assume so. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. It's done. Nice and easy.
And you want to read it or go to read it? Or?
Yes, if you can read it.
Sure. Okay, so real quick, just kind of summarize here. So the Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority and Valley Ambulance Authority are celebrating their 50th anniversaries, kind of a combined celebration this summer. So we were asked to put together a little recognition. So with that being said, whereas the Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority has provided EMS and medical transportation services to the region since 1974. And whereas the QVAA currently provides life-saving emergency services for Aleppo Township, Bell Acres, Edgeworth Borough, Glenfield Borough, Leek Township, Leaksdale Borough, Hayesville Borough, Glen Osborne Borough, Swickley Borough, and Swickley Heights Borough, all of whom are members of the QVCOG. And whereas over the last 5 decades, what began as a volunteer emergency service has developed into a highly technical EMS and medical transportation system, staffed by more than 50 dedicated professional paramedics and emergency medical technicians, dispatchers, and office personnel. And whereas all the QVAA paramedics and emergency medical technicians are certified by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and attend rigorous continuing education classes throughout the year. And whereas every year, on a 24-hour, 365-day basis, the QVAA responds to more than 2,000 ambulance calls and provides approximately 1,250 wheelchair van transports. And whereas the QVAA provides comprehensive certified training programs, including CPR, first aid, and stop and bleed training to members of the public and local public safety agencies, including local police and fire departments. And whereas It is essential and proper to recognize the tremendous impact of community service that QVA provides to our region. Therefore, be it resolved that QVCOG formally recognizes the QVA staff, officials, and volunteers for providing such an invaluable public service within many QVCOG communities. Duly passed the 17th day of August in the year 2022 by the Board of Delegates of the Quaker Valley Council.
Thank you, Patrick. And I must say, thank you both for all you do. I have had personal experience in my family twice. We had to call the ambulance. They were professional. They came, I live up Sycamore Road in Glen Osborne. They were able to find me and really did a wonderful job. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to be part of your part.
Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We do realize that while you were waiting for us to come, those are the longest minutes of your life. But we are expeditiously rushing to the scene. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you very much.
And just real quick, I think we got a little technical difficulty there. So Sabrina's back in the meeting. She was in and out. And just real quick, I wanted to introduce everybody. So Bell Acres Borough has appointed 2 new delegates.
Mhm.
So we met Lane last month, but Carmi Murphy-Gordon is also a delegate for our board. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware she's on the call. Carly, if you just wanted to say a few words real quick about your background, and we're happy to have you on board. I think she's new. Can you hear us?
It says the host keeps muting me.
My apologies. Yeah, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
My name's Carmi Murphy Horton. I live in Bell Acres. I was appointed to the board this past spring to fill Megan Wine's position. So I'm new to the board and then was appointed to be part of the COG. Lane had stepped in the last meeting and I'm here this meeting. So thank you for having me and hopefully I will attend in person at one of the future meetings.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the omnibus. Do you want to begin with the meeting approval of the meeting minutes of July 20th, 2022? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I assume it's passed. Next is our July financial reports. Patrick, do you have anything to say?
Sure, just real quick.
Patrick,
Go on.
he's going to get back to work.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Right.
And we thank you for the resolution. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thank
service.
you for your
Appreciate it.
service.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, so real quick, so we're gonna have a little presentation on our 2020 financial report for our audit shortly, but just to kind of bring up the speed on the current state. Right now, the financials are looking really good. We're still awaiting a pretty substantial payment for our CDBG participation through the county as well. So if you look at it year over year, we're exactly where we were last year before we get this $42,000 payment. So we're really tracking on the schedule. Everyone's got our dues are up to date, our RAD is up to date, everything's paid, and we're very thankful for that and everyone's contributions. The expenditures, I would say, are tracking even better than we expected. I think a big part of that is our rents substantially decreased from where we were before. We don't have to pay utilities where we're at, we don't have to pay internet where we're at. It's $200 a month. We use it for meeting space occasionally, and we have all our records there. So it's we're very thankful QVCOG offers that space to us, and it does save us a significant amount over where we were before. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy where we're at. So one thing you might notice in your bills payable, we have a bill for ClearGov, which is formerly known as City Grows. That platform is used for our code enforcement and zoning programs, in addition to a couple other things. So we're going to keep that program for another year, just to make sure we have it in our arsenal, just in case we use it. And then we'll sort of look at it again moving forward. They are under new ownership, so it's kind of a trial run here to make sure that we're happy with the product still, and then we'll make a decision next year if we're going to keep it or not. But yeah, any other questions that we have that question?
Hey, Patrick, question for you. I know our CDBG project for this year is really off to a slow start. The engineers asked me to ask you if you can see if you can put a bug in the county butt
Yeah.
to move that along so we don't have to pull concrete in January.
Yeah. So that's a good point, Jeff, and I definitely want to make sure everyone's aware. So the county's been going through quite the bit of turnover over the last few weeks. So we had a project manager by the name of Rob Frank. I think he was our project manager for years and years. We quit, and now he's the executive director for the Allegheny Valley Wharf. Then we got to send another project manager, named Heather. I'm her for a week, she quit. Then we got to sign Joe Scully, who's a kind of demolitions guy. He quit too. So basically, in the last month, we've had 4 project managers. So that kind of gives you the picture that they have like 3 people working to generate all the contracts and all the payments. So like, I definitely understand Dan's point, and everyone's point. But I don't see things moving very quickly. I think the one thing that benefits us is we're going to extend our deadlines. So while concrete's not going to get poured probably this summer, they're not going to come, ground us that things need to be done by June 30th when the contract ends. So
Yeah, we'll probably wait until probably March or April to pour that.
yeah, honestly, spring is probably the expectation right now. We don't have a contract for our CD40 projects, and you guys have all those. And, it's just kind of a waiting game, and it's definitely frustrating waiting for payments. These contractors that have done work already, they were sitting waiting for payment, and it's like they have 2 or 3 people following on this project. So it's been an adventure. It's been frustrating on our end for sure, and I definitely understand everyone's frustrations from the engineer and contractor's perspective, but it's kind of a mess there right now. We're just kind of at one of them to do these programs.
So have they hired somebody to?
I think they're on the hunt. They're looking to hire
Probably have
several.
15 and 20 quit.
So
Yeah.
I remember when you used to want a kind of job. That was the
Yeah, that was the one place you retired to.
And one last thing about our financial report. So you may have noticed, we have a dedicated recycling fund and a dedicated capital fund in our savings account. And I transferred our 2021 RAD funds into our capital account. So there's a substantial influx there, and our recycling fund from 2020. Remember, we're always a year behind for that, into our recycling fund. So both of those dedicated funds are in really good shape. We're at 27,000 for future recycling, and our future capital is 45,000 for shared projects. So the other half is just a dedicated QVCOG savings account, but really good shape. I
What
think
is the RAD account?
the RAD account right now is at 45,000.
Thanks.
Some change. So just a heads up, I'll be compiling our 2021 recycling reports for the state in the next few days and weeks. So we should get that paid probably in the spring of next year, I guess. But yeah, everything's good.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a motion to accept the financial report.
So,
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, and moving on to the bills. and payables.
Yeah, I think we're good on that front.
Okay,
Motion to pay the bill.
Very good.
could I have a second?
second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, so 8A, so we're expecting some representatives from Case Sabatini, our audit firm. But no one seems to be on a call. I'd be happy to summarize real quick for everybody if that's okay.
Okay.
So we did receive our audit, copy of it's in your packets. We received the signed copies in the mail today, so more or less we're required to do these financial audits every year. Oh, it's a good practice, but required because we get CDBG funding. All federal funds need to be audited. So while they audit those funds, they also are general fund as well. No substantial findings, everything met their criteria. Again, they're supposed to be on the call line. I'm not sure what happened. Never got an email, so that's a little disappointing. But there was a thorough report done. It's in your package. If you guys have any questions, and I will be sending that as long as it's approved by the board tonight to the county for their files.
Motion to approve the audit report. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 8B, we are.
We forgot the executive director's report, or are you skipping down?
Actually, basically everything in it is going to be addressed in the package, so.
Okay. That's fine with me. Okay, 8B. Update in the mutual aid.
Yeah, so a couple months back, we had a request from Delegate Daniels from Lee Township to take a look at the mutual aid agreement that was last passed in 2009. So with the last 13 years, there's obviously been a lot of change in law enforcement, a lot of change in best practices. So we convened the police chiefs committee and had two really good discussions with those chiefs. We took a look at mutual aid agreements in the South Hills area COG as well as the Charlotte West COG. Not gonna lie, we borrowed heavily from those two agreements. Our solicitor also took a look at them, make sure everything met his standard. We changed a few things, but really the highlights are, response for officers when they go out of their jurisdiction. So this is the department's language has been really tightened up there, as well as liability insurance threshold has been up from 1 million to 2 million, just based on the best practices and recommendations of law enforcement. And we also have, if this is a pass, we have 2 new members of this mutual aid agreement, Lee Township, who wasn't a participatory member in the previous agreement, as well as the Quaker Valley School District, who has their own dedicated police force. So Chief Aaron Mineta has been a really interested member for this chief's group, kind of on the side and outside of the mutual aid agreement, but connected at the same time. He and I have been working together to pursue some funding for a joint active shooter training, which is set to potentially take place this fall, which is really exciting, where all of our regional police departments can work together. Obviously, with everything going on, to be prepared, I think is the best method. So, yeah, I'm really excited to have them on board this group too. So, the potential mutual aid agreements to packet, if anyone has some questions.
Any discussion?
When would you like us to share that with us?
Assuming it gets approved tonight, I'm going to send it out to all the managers as well as the police chiefs. So each participating department, there's 9 of them, and those municipalities will get a copy. Take a look. If you guys have any questions or feedback, you can always go back and take a look at it. But yeah, we would ask each one of those participating towns to look at it, approve it, and then that'll be our new final document.
Patrick, does that cover Bellevue all the way down
Yep.
to the?
All, so every one of the 15 towns is within that agreement. Well, no, sorry, 13 of the 15. Hayesville and Glenfield are the jurisdiction of the state police, so they're kind of on their own there. But
Well, I thought they had Swiftly as part two, that hasn't been ratified.
no, it's
No.
not official yet.
I think it's in the works. I actually don't know. I know we've discussed it and we have not formally approved it.
They probably can't afford what.
I think there was a
I don't
grant,
know.
there was a grant. that
Oh,
was to be.
okay.
And they missed the deadline.
Yes.
For
Oh,
that
okay.
grant, so they're waiting for the next deadline.
I see.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So they're still coming.
It's not off the table, but it hasn't been approved yet.
Any other discussion on the mutual aid agreement?
Patrick, so since we use OT, is OT approve it? We need you also.
So OT would approve it, just kind of based on what happened to the last agreement, the other agreements. So like an example for like when I was born in Ainsworth, since they're under the jurisdiction of a different police department, just the police department and that police department's municipality have to sign off. So you guys would have to sign off because Ohio Township will.
Well, it's us that haven't. Show off the wall.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
And another note there, Ohio Township and Chief Hager have been really great to work with too. They're not a QVCOG member, but they do represent and work for a lot of our towns, so they've been really great for that whole discussion as well.
Great. Well, thank you for all your work you've done on this. I think this is something that the COG should be doing and continue to do. I'll take a motion to accept the mutual aid agreement, the updated.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There you go, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I'll get that out to all the police chiefs, managers tomorrow.
May I ask you, are the chiefs going to continue meeting?
Yeah, we have another meeting set for the day after Labor Day. I think that's September 6th. So they meet every other month, and they've been really excited. I think there's a lot of new chiefs and a lot of new ideas that I think they're really willing to work together, and it's good to see.
Great, thank you. Okay, we can skip C and go on to the annual dinner.
Yeah, real quick. So the annual dinner is coming around the corner. So October 6th is going to be the date. We did reserve the Edgeworth Club space again. Mr. Kevin Flannery was kind enough to sponsor the event. So basically, we need someone that's a member there to say, hey, these guys are cool, come on down, use the space. The space is basically almost free to use. It's the cost of the event is basically food, drink, any of the additional amenities that we request. So I'll be meeting with their sales and event manager, Nicole Schaefer, on Wednesday next week after our managers meeting. So, a lot's changed since last year as far as food prices. So, we'll figure out a nice meal for everybody at a good price point too. So, those details are yet still be finalized, as well as our keynote speaker. We're working on the details of who we might be asking. So stay tuned. In the next few weeks, I think there's gonna be a lot of new details to come out as far as registration, ticket price, sponsorship, things like that.
And you are essentially doing this. You do not need a committee at this point in time. You might need volunteers for the dinner itself to help.
Yeah, I think that would be great. As we get closer to the event, if those who are registered for the event might be able to help set up or register those, name tags, things like that. That'd be really appreciated. So, obviously, if you're interested, please let me know.
Okay. Let's go on to Anna.
Yeah, can we just go ahead and share the screen real quick?
Okay.
Yeah, so, Anna's been great to work with this summer. She's been a lot of help with just helping connect the COG with our member communities, just being present, listening, and generating some good content to get people interested and aware of our program. So thank you, Anna. And with that being said, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so basically what I've been working on this summer, I think can be summarized in those three pillars. So engagement, site visits, and surveys. Patrick helped me with a lot of the site visits. We did them together. Engagement, I'll talk about that a little bit. And two-part survey, one with the elderly COGs, and then one survey with our members of QVCOG. So the first kind of engagement step, I had two goals. One was to increase visibility in the community and amplify communications within our own hub. That was done for a few ways. I made a community locations GIS map. I'll talk a little bit more about activities. I updated Facebook and the QVCOG website, and most of these, the aforementioned, were done with infographics, which I'm a big fan of. And I included in this presentation. And then second goal was to improve connections with the COG, also done through the first part of the survey. So how did I increase visibility and amplify communication? This is a little bit of the GIS map that I did. So I can put the link up to the website, but basically it's just an interactive map that you can click on little dots and it'll tell you about where the schools are, community centers, Municipal buildings we added on there. Institutions like that. You find phone numbers, emails, and websites, and address. So I also worked on the website, and a few things I did with that is we added a community engagement tab where we have a post on the cause, so any community type events we have, so please light up night on there, we have a few other things. And then we have a calendar with navigation feature for any tabs that might have been lost and hard to find. Specifically, we added a zoning map on there. A few towns were interested in that, but didn't necessarily know it existed. So we added that on there, then a gallery and a Route 65 page, which if as the initiative expands might be helpful. And then on Facebook, just updating events, keeping that stuff going. Specifically, we did Patrick and I promoted the PRC. We actually spent just a tiny bit of money on that, and I think the engagement outcome of that promotion was pretty good. The turnout for that event, and then also infographics, which is favorite. So infographics are my favorite. They're visually appealing and easy to read, and I think having something that someone can share as a PDF online, print out, and give to people, hang, distribute it anyway is a really important aspect, especially in today's day and age. So I had fun creating all these infographics. This is the do or don'ts of recycling. So anyone who is with the solid waste and recycling agreement that we do, this is up-to-date information for recycling, and then I made what programs are provided by the QVCOG. So if there's a member that isn't sure, or a new member that wants to know, that's there too. And then this is another infographic that is kind of goes with the last one. So this is like I call it a cheat sheet that goes on with like a short description of each of the programs that the college has. When I conducted this survey, it was what I found out when I was doing it with our members is that some of them weren't familiar with the programs that we had. So that kind of gave me the idea to write a brief description, and then maybe, if they want, they can read this and know a little bit more about it. And then, so the second pillar was site visits, and this was a very vital part of the internship. I think Patrick and I went around to 6 different of our members, and it was really fun. It was awesome to get to do that. I learned a lot about it, and I think it's important not only for our members, but also for Patrick's side too. Getting to hear what the community's wants, needs, conflicts are, I think is an important part of communication. And the last part is the survey. So there was 2 parts. Like I said, the first is with the Allegheny County COGs. And these are some more infographics I made. So through the survey, I found out that there were 5 problems. In case you can't see it, I'll read it to you. So the first biggest problem that almost all of them faced was attendance at meetings or timely responses from their council members or delegates. The second was staffing or problems with shared services. The third was budget and finance. And the fourth, blight removal, and the fifth, the inability to form new initiatives. And there's a second part to this that actually provides solutions to that. Patrick, these on the next 2 slides are a little bit more. So I'll just go through this a little bit. I don't think right now our COG is facing any problems with attendance, or Patrick said the budget looks pretty good right now. But in case any of those problems do come up, these are actual solutions that other COGs in the area have come to. So in case of emergency, there are potential solutions. So with attendance, creating a hybrid model, which we already have, it was the most useful strategy that they implemented to increase that. For finance is diversifying revenue, which is creating new programs, was the most helpful. Shared staffing was creating collaborations between COGs, which I thought was pretty interesting. So like the salt bidding, And then the risk of losing members is a problem, another thing, diversifying revenue. So this is the part 2 of the survey with our actual COG numbers, and this was a pretty interesting survey. I distributed it virtually, and then I did a few when we did our site visits. The top 4 problems that came out of the survey were top 5 most valuable COG programs was our administration of solid waste and recycling, the community development block grants, police chiefs committee, and the recycling program. The top 2 problems in the COG were the inability to staff and blight management. And then also very interesting to the right is this is a bar graph depicting the COG's familiarity with our programs, our members familiar with our programs. So this gives Patrick a little insight on, if one member doesn't have a good grasp of what one program is, we can reach out and say, hey, are you interested in learning more? I think that's a good form of communication.
Were your surveys sent out to the managers?
They were sent out to Patrick can tell me a list to the managers and the delegates. We had 10 responses in total, so majority of the communities. And then the last part of the survey talked about how the members measure the success of the programs that the COG has. I thought that was an important question to ask, to know how they gather that information. So the top response was that they gathered input received through council or board members, and I included this on here because I feel like that, as the #1 response to this question, shows just how important the delegates' input back to their council is. So communication is key. That was the #1 takeaway from the survey, is how to eliminate problems is communication. So of the survey respondents, a little bit of data, 78 utilized the GIS program regularly, 67 utilized the glass recycling program regularly, and 67 also used the block grants program regularly. And last, the top 5 programs the QVCOG members are interested in, future thinking, was equipment sharing and rentals. 70% were in favor of that. Joint municipal composting sites, this is something I didn't know existed, but when I was surveying the other Allegheny County, I found out it's pretty cool. Patrick had set up a conversation with the resource council, I think it was, to talk about composting sites. The third was an HR representative that was suggested at the managers meeting, public works committee, and specialized training for police and fire. So those were the responses from that survey. That's all I got for the survey. Questions that are coming in.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that survey is very valuable.
For those ideas for the future, did you suggest them or did you leave it open-ended?
I suggested, so the 2 parts of the survey, they kind of went together. So these were programs that other colleges may have had. So I put them on as a suggestion, but I also left a box for other in case they had one in mind.
Yeah, and again, I just want to thank Anna for her experience and time and efforts this summer. I was once an LGA intern, had the privilege of having a couple other interns as well since I got into this field. And, I try to make the experience, it's not like one of those things where I feel like sometimes these internships turn into like, here's a project, go in a corner and good luck.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I want it to be for Anna and anyone else that we might have in the future. It's our responsibility as a host goes beyond just assigning projects and reviewing the projects. It's taking them out in the field and showing them the real world life that is local government. We're kind of shepherds to get the next generation, the next new idea, the next new thought in this field, and show them that it's a worthwhile career to work in. So hopefully, I've had an enjoyable time with it. I know I enjoyed my time working with her. So Thank you very much for everything.
Patrick was great to work with. As someone who didn't have much of an interest going into any type of government before the internship, going on the site visits, doing the survey, having Patrick mentor me it changed my mind. This is a potential career choice for me. But yeah, I said to Patrick today that I think anybody who does anything, hopefully I'd like to think, does it because they want to have some type of change in their community. And I had a stigma placed on local government that, this isn't where like change occurs, nothing really important happens here. But actually working in it for a summer, I noticed quite the opposite, that maybe it's not huge monumental changes, but it's the change that people deal with every single day. Like local government is what people live in. They deal with whether it's recycling, whether, it's all the programs that we do. People are involved.
And what's cool about it is if you want to make a change, it's possible to.
Right.
Yes.
I don't want to be so discouraged,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. Patrick was awesome to work with. The LGA experience was awesome to work with. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. And I'll be actually headed up to the LGA event tomorrow, so I'll make sure I'll definitely put in a good word of joy. They do such a great job.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
can't thank them enough. And I'm excited for next year to see if we can get another Anna.
Thank you, Annie. Yes, thank you, Anna. And I must say, what you took out of this is why a lot of us are in local government, and that's a great insight. It really is. Thank you. Okay. Now we're moving on to President's report. Before I do, I'm going to flip up the Route 65 update. And this past, was it last week? It seems so long ago.
Monday.
Anyways, we had Patrick organized a meeting with Don Seeley from PennDOT and several members of his team. And Julie and I and Patrick were on that call. And pretty much, first of all, we gave background as to what we have, what has been done, and what we're looking to look for in the future in compiling a master plan. And I must say, I don't think in the beginning of the meeting, please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was very familiar with the work that this COG has done in creating the Route 65 plan. But I do feel that after the meeting, he'll take a look at it and move forward with it. Again, it's been very nice putting names and faces and contacts, which Patrick has done for Julie and I especially, because I have had limited, and usually it's one or two people that I have been in contact with. I do know as an individual small community in this neighborhood, when you do have to deal with PennDOT, it's almost like you're out on an island by yourself. And even going through names and calls over and over again until you finally find the person that can help you with whatever situation is occurring in your community. So it was very nice to have, we now have names, we now have where we maybe the committee can start to work and function towards it. I will say for the Route 65 committee, that our first thing is to get an intergovernmental agreement. And this intergovernmental agreement that Julie and I, please correct me at any point in time, are looking for is really not a commitment yet. And I'm going to put that in parentheses for money, but it is a commitment that you're interested in working together on this project. We do realize that this is a long-term project. It's been brought up before, but we now have, I think, a very detailed scope of the project. We have research behind us that we can now move forward with the master plan part of it. Also,
If I could add to
Sure.
that, In our meeting with Doug Sealy and his team, he included 4 or 5 different people, from project managers to planners. And one of the things that I noticed, it was a Zoom meeting, so we could see all their heads.
Yes.
One of the parts I noticed some nodding heads was when I said that in the second part of our study, there was a design-centric approach to making a design all along the corridor that was consistent along the corridor, so that the road would maintain consistency along that 25-mile stretch. People were nodding their heads like, yes, yes. And the only way we could achieve that is by working together. If we weren't able to get an agreement, we would not be able to show PennDOT that we want that consistency along the road. So, and I think when they were in agreement about that, that was really promising. And I was excited. I was excited to see that.
Again, PennDOT is dealing with the road. And in creating a master plan, that is their main focus. But I think, hopefully we will go look at what we have. It's very detailed.
And one thing that was clear to me was that they did not have a long-term plan for
No,
65. So it's like the squeaky wheel. Like if we keep trying to work with them, I think they will look over our direction.
Well, one thing they said was that we want to work with communities. We want to work with municipalities. And if the municipalities are working together, that makes our job a lot easier, and have a clear goal. They did mention Route 8 in that they did have a plan for Route 8, and they've been working with Route 8. One of our questions was, we're noticing on Route 65 that you're working there, what kind of improvements are you going to do? And it was very, well, the improvement we're now doing on the barriers was done 2 years ago. That's when the funding came about. And pretty much that's what we're looking at. And and we also mentioned communication with communities. A lot of times I know, just in little Glen Osborne, we don't know that they're working on the Hazel Light, which is now in our community. I mean, and or when the road is going to be down to 1 lane and everybody's coming up Beaver. It's not really communicated to us well, or even to the police well. We're always, oh, look at the traffic, and now we have to bring out the police and, hide the traffic. So we did mention to them, the people who were there, that communication with municipalities is essential, whether we go forward with this or not, but that, what they think they are communicating to us and what they do communicate may be 2 different things. And maybe it's because I'm a small community with 1 person in the office. But essentially, I think this COG has an opportunity for the first time to really make a difference on Route 65, a road we all share, a road we all know is not safe. And in my heart of hearts, this is what the COG is about. We're about working together and finding solutions. And it might not, anybody working in government knows, it may not be right now. But at least we're talking with each other and saying what is going on in one municipality, or maybe even once you open the gates to communication, who knows what can happen. And anyways, I thank Catherine for all your work and getting this going, and Julie for your work to come on this committee. So thank you also.
Yeah, I know in Leetsville, we are kind of trying to put a plug up PennDOT, but we have several turning lanes that aren't at lighted intersections.
Yeah.
And we have had, even at some of the lighted intersections, we've had a ton of accidents. And we want to close all left turns except for the lights. And so far, we can't get PennDOT even.
This is one of the things that I noticed was highlighted at the beginning of the study. The study is very long. The introduction gives a good background and history and reason for the study. And it was saying that like the voice of each individual municipality is so small and it's just less powerful than if we all come together and do an intergovernmental agreement saying like, we care about this. We will be heard better, I think, Jeff, if we, do you think that your council would have an appetite for entering an agreement like that?
Probably, because I know, you know, my chief and I especially have had long conversations about this. So,
I still remember when we were doing the study.
Yeah.
And it wasn't unique, conversations. were
No.
unique. Up and down, safety, the hands-off, I mean, it is Ohio River Boulevard. And which is different than a route or an interstate.
correct.
And in different parts of that road, it's treated as a main street with businesses on both sides, a residential area,
In Speedway.
and a speedway. I know.
But and the PennDOT rep referred to 65 as an interstate highway.
Yeah.
And one part of this, yes,
Yes.
and part of the study, it actually is a recommendation from Michael Baker that they create a new category of road called a corridor
Yeah,
and categorize this as a corridor.
right.
So that was interesting too, to see that, because when I said something about traffic calming, he gave some indication that it would be very hard to calm traffic along 65, which may be true. And as I was driving it earlier today, I thought, well, maybe there would only be certain sections that would be calmed, like the ones we really, really care about, like in Ben Avenue, where there are people's houses right there, you know, and then in
Right.
Killbuck, it doesn't matter because it is more like a highway. You know, maybe it just has to be not across the board. If you change it.
But
as you
even
go.
that's related until you get to the lighted haze, that'll be accidents that we see
Right.
there. and
But it's
then-
that kind of master plan that can hone in on the areas that need to be addressed. And so at the end of the meeting, it seemed like he was ready to commit to giving us a contact person that would be either a regular member of our committee or a member that was just there for the appropriate meetings, but somebody who would be a contact for our committee. So I was so happy with that result.
So I think it was a very productive meeting. And I think for us, this is an issue, in my personal opinion, that we should go forward on, because even if you're not next to Route 65, your residents travel it in and out of the city. And we all know anybody who talks about Route 65 in the middle of Slipley or at different areas, they say it's a dangerous road.
If the delegates could start talking with their councils about this, to just try to get a feel for whether there's an appetite for this from various councils, I think that would be a good starting
Yes.
point. I know Swiftly, I think Swiftly has interest in this.
I know Glen Osborne does too. Anybody else, feel free to voice your opinion. This is open for discussion. Okay.
Thank you. I think it's time for the delegates around the horn. Harvey, did you have anything to report from the Delegates? Okay,
I do not. Can you hear me?
yeah, we got you.
I don't have anything to add.
Thank you. Okay, Bellevue,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Paul and Hemsworth,
Nothing.
Barbara,
Nothing in Glen Osborne.
John Sebastian, anything in Killbuck you'd like to bring to the board?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. John, anything Lee Township?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you on that mutual aid agreement, Patrick. But nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, anything Lee said?
Please have all your emergency management coordinators put all their events into the Fusion Center, because that's how they get funding for the number of events that are actually put in. And they missed major funding by just a little bit last year. So the more events that are entered, the higher on the list they become. It, anything over, 100 people or whatever, any kind of gathering, have your emergency manager put it in to the Fusion Center that gets funded.
Yeah, Jeff, did you have any information I could maybe relay to the group and the managers?
Yeah, well, like any kind of parade, any kind of festival, any kind of picnic, any kind of, public get together. And that would go right to Jackie that we're playing in the Fusion Center.
What is the Fusion Center?
The Fusion Center, there's like about 80 of them across the nation. And they have a multidisciplinary, like the state police, they have FBI, Homeland Security, all that. And they are an information gathering thing, and I'm actually a flow officer. So Fusion liaison officer, so I'll disseminate information up or down as I need. So that basically does help in the funding and in any regional security.
Thanks.
Julie, anything in Sewickley?
No.
Sewickley Heights, Nate?
I'll echo John's comment. We appreciate the work on the police contract. Our chief was, actively involved as much as possible. I think it's great for everybody. So I hope we get to move through.
Yeah, I think big things ahead for the Chiefs. I think.
Yeah.
A lot of ideas.
Chief Harris really enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right, that's everybody.
Well, I'll take the motion to adjourn.
Motion keeper.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And thank you, everybody, for all you do.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in Van Allen Borough next month. Thanks again.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we voted on. Thank you.